Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Discover a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
We're here to start a revolution.
Is this a song or a speech?
More like a chant, so somewhere in between.
I love a good chant. Is this a sorority one? Am I allowed to participate in this? Or
I said a revolution. Why would the sorority be trying to start a revolution? I mean, like, we'd be on the front lines.
Are you making this up on the spot? Like,
yes,
I don't know.
I'm making this up.
Oh, she's improvising.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you. Say yes. Yes. It's just some improv humor for you all.
They're like, we don't care. None of this was funny. Anyway.
Okay. Well, sorry it was a failed cold open. My bad, y'all. I should be researching the cold opens on Brooklyn Nine-Nine more to make sure that we're keeping things funky and fresh. Well, funky now I just think of like cheese. Like funky.
Fire.
We literally just watched that one.
It's a very good one.
I think it probably is like the most renowned. Mott's favorite is the Diane yeast infection, like that one, and his mustache, Charles's mustache. Those are that's his favorite one. So, anyways, hello everybody. Welcome to
Don't Blame
Me. I knew which one we were recording.
Okay. It's a call and advice show where you call in.
And
we give advice.
That's what we do. You might be wondering, are you in the same room now? Because Melissa's back in Los Angeles. No, we are not. We are giving it a week, as we usually do when one of us travels. And it's also fitting because Los Angeles is dealing with so much weather.
Lots of wetness. So juicy. Just secreting from the air.
And that's not fun to drive in. I'm fine. Actually,
not at all. Our mayor said don't drive unless you have to. So that tells me to stay put.
I just want everyone to know that this isn't wow, Californians don't know how to drive in the rain. First of all, I grew up near San Francisco. I grew up in Marin. I know how to drive in the rain. I know all of that shit. It's just that these freeways are not built for rain, and so the freeways are flooding. So,
and also we're in a drought, and when the earth hasn't been moisturized in a long time, it doesn't absorb it as fast. And so the water is not absorbing into the soil. It's just sitting on top of the streets. So
think of it like a skincare routine. Our soil in Los Angeles has not had any humectants. There's not pulling moisture out of anywhere. So it's cracked and dry. And then you think you're just going to throw some Aquaphor on some dry skin and it's going to work. No, you're sealing in the already dry. You got to permeate the wet first. So we are holding off And this is the day that our yard is flooding. So it's a good day in LA. And I will say, we are so lucky. Like, and I've told Mott's all of this because where I grew up, like flooding happened like it wasn't so much like of a fire worry. There were like, I think there were some like house fires, but like there was not where I grew up, but like flooding, like all of my friends, if they lived in the flats, like your house, like people's houses flooded, my school's flooded. Like it was like, that was a huge part of my life. And we had
mudslides.
I was going to say we had a big landslide and like there was only two ways to get to my house. And for years, I think almost all of high school, one of those ways had been was ripped out because like the road got taken out through a mudslide and it took them a really long time to like repair it. So I'm very lucky and thankful that like, you know, we're both safe and we're able to stay inside, you know, and oh no.
All right. Well, we just had a little intermission because Megan's internet went out.
Yeah.
Correct?
As I was discussing the weather decided to be like, thanks for the shout out. Let me disconnect your internet real fast. And it just would not reconnect. And it finally did. So that's what happened.
Okay. So let's just jump into what the show is.
This is an advice show where we give you wonderful, amazing, life-changing advice. And you might be wondering, how are these meteorologists, weather women, and just overall sexy, gorgeous, stunning, intelligent supermodels also qualified to give advice? And to that, we would say, why doesn't any of that make us qualified to give advice? That sounds sexist.
I was going to say, why are you questioning us?
Who said you could speak? Did you raise your hand? I don't recall calling on you. This is you call us. And what we lack in credentials, we make up for in opinions.
If you subscribe to our Patreon, you can see the weird ass face that Megan was just making.
I think it was actually like stunning. And I think that like it is the face of Renaissance portraits or
Beyonce would have rejected it.
Well, yeah. But I think if like they needed a jester.
Jester, yeah.
There you go. Me and Matthew Morrison, big jester energy. So on this podcast, you call in, you leave voicemails, and we give you advice. And if you want to call in for an upcoming episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. The criteria for all of the above, regardless if you are leaving a voice memo or a voicemail, it has to be under 3 minutes. That's not like we're going to edit it down to 3 minutes. Like it has to be 3 minutes when you send it to us or when you record it on the voicemail. And we do suggest, demand, require, plead, beg of you to write it down before you record. Practice a couple times, time yourself out, make sure you have all the relevant information in there. We do ask that you always include ages. If you'd like to include your pronouns, please do. And create pseudonyms for the people who you're talking about if it's not just about you, so we can follow. The more information that we have, we can give the best advice. So if there's examples about behavior and things, like do that. We create an entire podcast giving people advice. Like we want the drama. Like give us the details. We love to hear that shit. Not like love if it's like a bad thing, but like, you know, it helps us create a well-rounded argument for our law fellowship with Annalise Keating.
We have an update today, so let's get into it.
It's a good one, everyone. You will remember.
So basically, you guys have answered a bunch of my calls. I've called about my now ex-boyfriend, how he was just like super unmotivated and I wanted him to move out. There was another one where like my friends just didn't match my like, not like financial level, but like I was paying for a lot of stuff. This was like at least 2 or 3 seasons ago. So like way back. I've been calling you guys since I was like 21 and I'm 26 now. So basically the last time I
love that.
I know it's been a long time. You guys have been part of my life forever. And then the last time I talked to you guys was my ex-boyfriend used to hook up with his twin sister and his mom was, you know, diddling with the dog.
We brought that up recently.
Yeah. I remember where I was fucking sitting when you told. I remember everything. Yep, I remember everything.
Yes, I broke up with him. My best friend and I moved in together. I met a guy. Yeah, so now I am now married to that guy, and he is just everything I've ever hoped for and more. And we just got married in September, so just a couple of months ago. And I know, and Miss Megan's engaged now, and I like literally cried for you.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm dying for you.
Like, yeah, congratulations. Not Megan.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't congratulate me.
Of course. And so my best friend that we moved in together, and she was like my whole support system and got me out of that terrible situation. We're no longer friends. She wanted to buy a house, so she asked my now husband at the time to move in and like take over her lease. And I wasn't on the lease at the time, just because I was like, it was just craziness all the time. But her mom was on the lease. So it was her and her mom on the lease. Her mom didn't live here. It was just like to help her, like basically secure the place. And I was supposed to get on the lease eventually, never happened. So we were doing this big like lease takeover, and it took forever, and it was a pain in the ass. But her mom like withdrawed out of nowhere. And so they were going to kick us out. And I have like severe PTSD with having an unstable living situation. When I was growing up, my mom, like we never knew where we were going to live the next month. And as an adult, I like promised myself that I would never put myself in that situation again. So I freaked out and she was freaking out too, obviously, but it brought up a lot of emotions for me, and we were like fighting with her mom, and eventually it all worked out. But after we got engaged a couple months later, I told my best friend that I didn't want my mom or her mom at my wedding. And she made a big deal about that. And then apparently I bought a couch, and that pissed her off when she was moving out. Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
Huh.
I don't know. When we moved in together, I got rid of everything that I had, and we just moved into her place. So I had to basically restart. And so I was buying a bunch of stuff that you need, like furniture. And she said that I pushed her out of her own home, apparently. And I asked her to be my maid of honor after we kind of like resolved some stuff and talked. And then she ghosted me when I went to go try on wedding dresses.
Like she just didn't show up?
Yeah, she blocked me on everything. She
blocked you before having a conversation with you?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Well, we had like that one conversation. I thought we were all good. And then, yeah, just no contact, nothing. I haven't heard from her since. That was, what was that? Like August of 2021. So, yeah, now she's married and has her own life. And so.
Whoa. Wait,
yeah.
So was she the only person going with you to try on dresses?
No, I had my whole gang. I had my stepmom and like my other best friend, and my other best friend, like as soon as everything was happening, she stepped up and kind of filled that maid of honor role, not only like for the wedding, but emotionally too.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm very thankful for her. But yeah, it was really shitty, and I don't plan on ever talking to her ever again.
Oh my God, I wouldn't fucking either. Like that is, as a ghoster, I'm just like, those people, I'm like, you are not a part of our club. Like that is not healthy ghosting. That is like not an appropriate response. And like, that's a high stress. And even though it's an exciting time, like trying on dress, like that's so mean. Like that's so mean spirited.
Not saying one word to you and then just blocking you. That's not cool when she was such an important person in your life.
Wow.
Exactly. And yeah, we had definitely had our issues, but I don't know. Or not recently, but like then we were going through some stuff, but like I still loved her. Like she was my other half. Like I wouldn't have survived the pandemic or anything without her. And it was truly heartbreaking. I like remember I was trying on dresses and I was just sobbing, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so sweet." But I was just like so heartbroken that she just wasn't there and a part of it. But I wish her nothing but the best. And if I ever see her again, like, I don't know, maybe say hi, but I don't plan on having a relationship with her ever. So,
which is understandable.
Yeah. I mean, some people, I think that like, you know, there's that quote. It's like, if you don't like people, the friends who aren't there for you when you're at your worst. But I've also noticed like sometimes people like are more comfortable being like a fixer or a helping kind of friend, and they're not great celebrating friends. And like when you're doing amazing, like for them, there's nothing for them to do but like just like support and celebrate, as opposed to like help and try and fix. And that hold up a mirror to themselves that like they might not be focusing on fixing things in their own life, and they might not like themselves very much for any of that kind of stuff. But like that's just absolutely wild. But I mean, you know, it's Friends season, reason, lifetime, and like, you know, she was there for a season that was like very, or like however long she was in your life, but like she served a very important purpose. But that's done, and she doesn't deserve the friendship like at this point. Like that's just that's so fucked.
Yeah,
it's so fucked.
Yeah, it's just I started noticing that she was kind of getting a little territorial when my now husband and I started dating. And she'd get pissed whenever we went on a date and I didn't tell her, or I don't know, we were having a movie night and she didn't ask, or we didn't ask her if she wanted to be included or something like that. And now looking back, my therapist, when we first moved in together, was saying, "Oh, I think you guys are kind of codependent." And I was like, no, not in a million years. And now looking back, it's like, oh, if your therapist is telling you you're codependent with someone, you should probably listen and not like brush it off and tell them they're wrong. So
yeah, or you may not have felt that way, but the former friend was definitely codependent.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't go anywhere without her like being right there. Like she worked from home and I work mostly out of my car. I do like a lot of driving. So like she would just sit passenger with me and she like couldn't be left home alone. I feel really bad for her, and I'm glad that she's, you know, doing whatever she's doing now, but still kind of sucks.
Yeah. I had a friend very similar to that, where like she was codependent with me and I wasn't codependent with her. And, you know, when it was, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but when it was convenient or like it worked for me, like it was just like, okay, cool. But then the second that like things started to shift, that's when I was like, oh, okay, you are codependent. This isn't just, we have not been seeing this the same way of like, this has been convenient and fun for both of us. Like this is a much more need-based thing. And now you're getting territorial, and like, that's so like, and you're feeling very betrayed by something that like I didn't commit to, like, and we had very different ideas of what this was. So that's just sounds, yeah, that's, I'm glad that like you can like look back on that and like, you know, appreciate what she was able to do, but then also know that like, that doesn't mean that you're like indebted to her, or you have to like stay friends or maintain a relationship if she's not going to be a good friend. Like it's not like credits that you get that you build up. Like it's a constant everyday thing. And just because she was great for a period of time doesn't mean that, you know, looking past any of that stuff is healthy for either of you. So I think that's like a really mature and smart thing.
Yeah, exactly. And thankfully I have a lot of people to, you know, fill my cup up, and it's not just her too. So yeah, definitely healthier with like all my other relationships, but I don't know. I wish I could just say like thank you to her or something like that, but it's probably just better left unsaid, honestly. And I'm sure I did some fucked up stuff too, but I don't know. At the end of the day, blocking someone when you're supposed to go wedding dress shopping with them, that's kind of like, you know, the final straw that broke the camel's back, if that's a saying. I don't really know. Yeah. So, but what can you do?
Well, look at you. You're so fucking therapized. Like this is,
I know.
Kudos to
I spent like 6 months going to like a weekly seminar for like DBT for my therapist. And so I'm like zen as fuck now.
That's amazing. Maybe I need to do that.
Girl, life changing.
Wow. Well, thank you. I love seeing this, and I'm sure the audience loves hearing this like journey for you. Like people, like we love like being able to connect people to like, oh, this call was this person and this was also them, and you know, X, Y, and Z and all of that stuff. But you know, seeing that like where you end up and like the happiness that comes after like all of that like bullshit. Like it's just like, I'm just like, thank you for sharing it with us, and that like we got to be a very small part of these last couple years. It's been like, you know, we're honored to be able to see and hear about like the happy results and like ending and healing of all of that stuff. Like I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, you guys make a big impact on like what you guys do here, and like just having someone like listen to you and like give you, I don't know, real advice that's not sugar coated. Even if you like don't know the person like personally, or like you're not super involved in their lives, like it's like a lot heavier. It seems like it has so much more importance that like you guys are giving me advice on my life and how to handle situations. And it's really made a big difference in my life. And I honestly probably wouldn't have gone to therapy if you guys like hadn't talked about therapy for so long. So
You're gonna
I
make
don't
me
know. You
cry.
guys have been a big part of my life. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry at the same time.
Well, thank you. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that so
was
much.
so
And-
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're so thankful
Yeah.
for like people like you who are willing to come and like be very vulnerable and share that stuff, because it wouldn't be anything without people like feeling safe and comfortable to share. And we always love when people say they enjoy that we're not sugar coated, because a lot of people do not like that.
Oh, they need to look inwards, honestly, if they don't like sugarcoating, because like,
Yeah.
got too many yes men around you if you don't like that. Amen.
Good to
Aw.
hear that. And we're here if you need anything else in the future, but so happy
I
where
appreciate
you are.
guys. Thank you. And I just feel so honored that I get to talk to you guys, honestly,
love
too. Big fan.
Shall we get into the calls?
Let's do it.
Hi, Meghan and Melissa. I am actually a caller from a previous episode in 2021 where I was asking you guys how I should go about talking to my husband about getting a vasectomy. Since then, I had my child. It's been good. I had the conversation with him. I even showed him the YouTube video from Rhett and Link, like you guys recommended, and he was not for it. It's still a touchy subject. Like, he will not get a vasectomy. I've mentioned it constantly for like the past year and a half. In that time, I got an IUD, and I just feel miserable. Like, I absolutely hate it. I have PCOS, and my periods are very rare. So when I do get them, it's like 3 or 4 months later, and it's as if I'm getting those periods all in one go. And it's just absolutely terrible. The cramps are awful. And I've said this to him multiple times. It's awful. And I would really like for him to get a vasectomy. And he just does not care. He will not do anything. I don't know what to do at this point. I guess I should just drop it and deal with the IUD because I don't want to have any more children. But I'd really like some advice. Or what are your opinions on husbands that don't want to help out their ladies? And I feel bad, but I even guilted him like, hey, I pushed out 2 children from my vagina, and like, you can't even go get a procedure done that takes like 1 day and then you're healed. And he's not there for it. So any advice you guys could give, thanks. That would be great. Love you guys. Listen to you guys all the time. Thanks. Bye.
First of all, congratulations on having your kid. And second, I'm so sorry. Like, this is just like, I can hear the defeatedness in your like voice, and I am like frustrated for you. So I don't know. I guess like my first question, and maybe this was covered in the original one or we talked about it more, but like, why for him? Like, what's his reasoning? Because to me, that means a lot. If it's like, I'm really not comfortable with procedures, like I have really bad anxiety about that, like that's something I really don't want to do. That to me, I'm like, okay, that's like very fair and very valid. And that's okay, it might take us a couple years to like, going to therapy and like seeing what, like, working through those anxieties and those things. Because to me, that is like, I don't want to ever think of it like a tit for tat kind of situation, but mental pain is like just as valid as like physical pain. So like dealing with an IUD and all of that, like if he is also like, there's so much anxiety around the procedure for him, and it might not even just be medical anxiety of getting it done, but it's like the aftermath. Like if you're worried about the healing or whatever it is, if I was in your position, I would have a lot more understanding if I knew that I was making a sacrifice in the moment for like my like mental, physical health and well-being, while he was working on it to then make that same sacrifice later on. And it's a relationship it's a back and forth kind of thing. So if it's that, then that is something that, you know, it's either can that be worked through? Can that anxiety and that fear be worked through in therapy with like, you know, a lot of time and patience? And, or if not, I would have a lot more mental energy and capacity to find other alternative birth controls that were not miserable for us both. But if it's not that, I don't know what else it could be that would make me sympathetic to him.
My thing is, just like with your body, you choose what you want to have done with your body. It's also his choice to have whatever procedure that he does or doesn't want to have on his body. Like, yes, I understand that, you know, you don't want to have any more children. And then also an IUD is painful for you, but there are other forms of birth control. Like, why can't you use condoms? Is that an issue for you? There are other things that you can do. Like, I just don't think that, I understand that you're frustrated, but it's just the fairness of it all. Like, if he does not want to have the person, you can say, you can recommend, you can give every example that you can think of, but at the end of the day, it's his choice to have done with what his body, what he wants to have done. You can't force him to have it.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I do think it is a conversation that, like, I think it kind of should be some similar of a deal breaker conversation before you get into a long-term relationship with someone. It's similar thing with like, what's your stance on abortion? So it's like, he should never feel pressured into it. My only question is, I'm assuming you're still using condoms if you don't want to have more kids, but is this like extreme desire for a vasectomy as like the creme de la creme, the end all be all? Are you worried he wants to have another kid? Like, are you worried that like you're going to use birth control, you're going to use like condoms, and if the condom fails and you get pregnant, do you not feel supported if you would terminate that pregnancy? Like, that's my question. It's like, because that's the part that, like, if you're concerned that if he doesn't get a vasectomy, that you're going to get pregnant and you're going to have to like carry that baby, is that based on your location, or is it based on your like relationship and how you view your partner? Because I think that's a bigger question for like the long-term plan of contraceptives in your relationship. Like, you said you're done having kids. Like, is he done having kids? Like, is that, if that's the reason why he doesn't want to get a vasectomy, then I think it's like, okay, so maybe we're not for each other right now because I don't want to have kids. And like, so I'm, you know, if you're in a state where you can have access to an abortion, but I do think that like you need to figure out, and maybe you do know, but you just haven't told us, like what the driving factor is behind it, because I think it represents a lot more. Like, it either represents anxiety and like that of a procedure, an operation or whatever, or it's that you're not on the same page with if you're done like growing your family, and a vasectomy is not a solution to that, in the sense that like that's a communication problem with like as partners.
But also, vasectomies aren't 100% foolproof either. So even if you got off an IUD, you could still get pregnant with a vasectomy. There's leaks sometimes.
Yeah, you haven't like spoken really ill of him. So to me, it's like, if your mind is not taking you towards this person is like trying to manipulate you and like baby trap you in the future, then I just think that like, if this isn't malicious and like dangerous, and like this isn't, again, like an attempt to control like your reproductive health, then I think like the response to that is, if that is what's happening, it's not controlling his reproductive health. Like, it's controlling you and your relationship. So if this is a deal breaker for you, I think the only way you can come to that conclusion, either way, if this is something you're going to deal with or something you're not going to deal with, I think is knowing why and like having that conversation and knowing that that might not be like a one-time conversation thing. It might take a bit to open up because you've said you've guilt tripped him and, you know, you need to get to the bottom of why. And I think that regardless of what the why is, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to decide what you want to do or to deal with it, like, or not. It's to deal with it or to not deal with it. But I think without the why, I could understand resentment building and like getting more and more frustrated because it feels like you've made a lot of sacrifices and he hasn't made any, but he might. Anxiety is also something that people don't choose.
Yeah, because, like to go on with that, like without knowing the why, if I just heard that somebody was trying to force somebody else to have a procedure that they wouldn't want, I would not be sexually attracted to that person that's trying to force and manipulate in your own words. Like that it just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. And I think we view vasectomies as kind of like I mean, people have said so many times, that people are like, well, we should just require, like, if we can't have abortions, then everyone should just have vasectomies. And it's like, well, no, that's just the exact same problem that we're creating for a different group of people with different like organs and genitalia. Like, that's just not fair. And it's a great option for people who it's a great option for, but it's not a great option for everybody. But again, if the reason why he doesn't want to have one is because he wants more kids and you don't, that's the issue. It's not that he won't get a vasectomy. It's that you have different ideas about the size of your family and you shouldn't be with someone or sleeping with someone who you don't necessarily trust to be super responsible in the same way that you are with your potential future family and getting pregnant, especially as abortion access is being restricted across the country. Like, it's not a fair position to put you in. And there's only so much that we can do on our end as people with uteruses and vaginas to not get pregnant. And if you can't trust him to hold up that end of the deal on his end, regardless of what it is, like condoms, pulling out, like all of that, like then that's the issue there. It's not that he won't get the procedure. So let us know.
Next call.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa, longtime listener, first-time caller. I am calling in for advice on if it would be rude if I regifted earrings that the guy I'm seeing gave me for Christmas. So the background. I am a 22-year-old woman. You can use any pronouns. And I've been dating a 27-year-old man, he, him, for 6 months since July of 2022. We aren't in a serious relationship, i.e. we're not like boyfriend, girlfriend, but we have been an exclusive since like a month in, and we just said, I love you to each other. It was going to be like a one-night stand, and when I met him on a night out, but we just didn't stop seeing each other, and it seems healthy. So he gave me 2 sets of earrings for Christmas and a jacket, and I love one of the earrings, and I love the jacket, but I hate the other one. Like, I'm not going to wear it. So, and he knows, like, I opened it, I was like, oh, like, they're cute, but, like, I wouldn't have picked them out, whatever. And he knows that. But I'm wondering if it would be rude if I regifted them, because I think one of my friends would like them. So I have 3 holes in my ears. They're a little bit too big for me to wear with the other 2 holes in my ears. So it's like, I not only don't like how they look, I also don't, like, they wouldn't fit with, like, the other earrings when I'm wearing all of them. My options are giving them to a friend without telling him, or telling her that they're from him. They have met, but they don't interact very often. So it's not like he would run into her wearing them. Another option would be talking to both of them, being like, hey, do you mind if I give these to my friend? And asking him if that's okay. Or I could give them back to him and he can return them, but he probably won't do that because that's inconvenient for him. Or I could even just donate them, not say anything. Or I could just keep them and just never wear them. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. I will admit, I was partially reading and also partially going off on my own tangent. So hopefully that was okay. But love you guys. Been listening since the beginning. Thank you. Bye.
I need to understand how y'all.
No, I feel like boomers at this. Like, I feel like we're being like, what is with you young people? And but are we about to go on a label question?
Like, if you're like non-monogamous and But you said that you aren't serious. This is what you said.
No,
you
that's
said
the
you're
part
not,
that got me too.
That's what I don't understand. You're not serious, but you said that you love each other.
And you're not in a relationship. You're not boyfriend, girlfriend, but you're exclusive. Like, what, bitch, what the fuck does that mean?
None of that makes sense. But anyway, I want an explanation on that. But that's not the real issue here. I think this is a simple solution. You say, hey, I tried to put those earrings in. They don't fit into the hole. So do you mind? Do you mind if I give them to my friend? Like, I think that's the most simple, and because it's the truth, they don't fit. And if your friend likes it, they can keep it.
Yeah.
And then you're telling him the truth too. And then there's never a chance where he's like, where's those earrings? And then accidentally sees your friend wearing them, since they do know each other, although they don't interact that much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in being like upfront and honest when it comes to like gifts. That's like how I think it's like kind of like sex. Like, you need to say what you like and say what you want. And like, that's how like it keeps getting better. And I think like a gift should be a great representation of how well like somebody knows you and how well they pay attention. Some people aren't great gift givers and they just like give off of a list, and that's totally fine. But if you said you're like, oh, this one's not so much like, I wouldn't have bought this for myself. Like, that to me, like, that's a little bit dancing around it. And so I think like, yeah, like the actual practicality of it doesn't like these don't really fit here. And like, they're not really my style. Like, I don't want to ask you to like return them. Like, I love everything else you got me. Like, would you be cool if I like gave them to my friend? Like, I think they would like so fit her style and be perfect. Like, exactly that. Like, if you didn't tell him, that makes that slight hint that you dropped that they're not what you would have bought yourself. That completely eradicates any possibility that meant that you didn't like those earrings. Like, you need to be a little bit, it's not cold or being like rude, but people want to get gifts that people like. And then also acknowledging like that you appreciate the gift and you really like these other things. And I think that's a perfect way. It's a compliment sandwich. Like, reinforce that you loved that.
Yeah, he got 2 out of 3 on point.
Great odds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it would be a massive knock to his confidence if he knew that you got rid of them and then gave them to someone else and then didn't tell him. Because then that, to me, like when someone like hides something like that from me or like doesn't tell me something like that, I'm like, that sucks. Like, I would have really hoped you thought highly of me enough that like I wouldn't be upset about this and I would appreciate the honesty here. Like, that's not a hurtful kind of thing. And I just don't think the setup for 6 months, not that serious, but exclusive and love each other. I don't
but
think,
not boyfriend and girlfriend.
But not boyfriend girlfriend. But I don't think if you want to keep going down whatever road this is that you're going down in this relationship, like I just think that this is. It's just a bad idea. Like, I personally don't like to make decisions that in the moment I go, this is going to bite me in the ass, because it's inevitably going to happen on things that I don't know. But like when I question, I go, is this going to come around and just really fuck me up? Like, I'm just going to not do that because life is already going to do that on its own. I don't need to give it more ammo.
Yeah.
But you have to explain your fucking relationship to us because like, what?
Whatever.
I mean, he's 27.
If you like it and that works for you, cool.
I just want to know what it means.
I just don't understand.
No, me neither. I want to know what the difference is between you and him and something that is serious and is boyfriend, girlfriend.
Maybe it's like, did you get him a gift? Maybe it's like he thinks it's more serious than you do.
But you
still love him? Like, do you love him or are you in love with him?
Yeah, like, love ya. Like, is it I love you or I love ya? Right. YAYAHLUVLOVE. No one come for me if I got any of those wrong.
Anyway, we're going to take a break now.
While we ponder this.
And we're back.
We thought on it. We still have questions. Shall we get into the next?
Let's do it.
Hey, Melissa and Megan. I am 25 years old. I'm a female, she, her pronouns, and I'm very liberal. I would like advice on cutting a friend out of my life. He, him pronouns, 28 years old, fake name Jeff. Background on us dating. We met through online dating. We were never exclusive at any point because he did not want to be exclusive at the time. We dated briefly at the beginning of 2022 for about 2 months, then stopped talking for around 2 to 3 months. After those 3 months, we decided to remain friends, but it has strictly been texting and occasional calls. I ignored a lot of red flags while dating him, such as constantly being compared to his ex and him calling me a bad friend and other mean names, and I accidentally forgot his birthday while we were seeing each other. Our contact has been very limited until a recent phone call. He told me he listens to Andrew Tate, and when I heard that, I wanted to throw up. I hate that man and everything he stands for, and when I expressed that I hate him, he defended the content and told me he recently started listening. He sent me a few videos, but I do not want a part of it, which I told him repeatedly. Stupidly, I admit I thought I could get him to see how awful that kind of content is, but nothing has worked, and I know that nothing good will come from me talking to him anymore. I truly have no idea how to end this, and just ghosting. I'm a serial ghoster, but just ghosting feels weird to me because I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself. And in the back of my mind, I think maybe he will also do something to harm me as well, if not physically, then emotionally. I let this go on for way too long, and I could really use some advice on how to cut him out completely. I'm very sensitive, but I know the scenario will need tough love, and I am in therapy, but have not discussed past dating experiences yet because we are unpacking other things. Thank you, guys.
This is not a situation that requires tough love unless you take how we're, but I just want to say that, like, if I'm coming across as tough love, send me a message and I will, like, deeply apologize to you, because that's so not how I want to come across in this. Like, I don't think this is a situation that calls for that. That, to me, tough love is a sense of onus and responsibility that I think, like, you know, that's kind of like my MO when I'm giving people advice like that. But I don't think that you bear any responsibility for this. And I don't think you bear any responsibility for maintaining a friendship, for anything, nor do you bear any responsibility for his mental or physical well-being. The only responsibility you bear is yours. And very few people, when they call in, will say that they do, like, they are worried about the repercussions on their potential physical well-being and mental in a situation. And we usually have to infer that. So if you are able to look at the situation and you already feel that, you need to, like, honor that so like harshly and truly, as like that is a very real possibility, because our brain puts up a lot of blocks before we even, like, let ourselves vocalize that. Like, we might think that, but we don't always say that. So the fact that you can say that, I just need you to know that you need to take that really seriously. And that being said, you need to talk to your therapist about it. And I know you haven't gotten into relationships and things like that, but it can just be, hey, can we schedule an extra session? Or this is an emergency. Like, this is a pressing issue. Whatever you're unpacking in therapy, unless there's something else that is potentially going to cause, there's a choice coming in your life or something ending that will have the same potential repercussions, I think that you need to tell your therapist, like, hey, I need help ending a relationship, like a friendship. It's a long distance, or it's a phone call, texting relationship. We haven't seen each other in a long time, but I'm, like, afraid of what could happen. And can you help me figure out what to do and what's the best way to go about this in the safest way? And how can I have, like, any resources or whatever it is? And your therapist will acknowledge, like, okay, yes, this is an emergency. This is something that's an urgent thing that we need to address immediately. That doesn't mean that you don't need to have a whole background in all of your relationships. Like, you really could, and honestly, before a session, you can even email your therapist and just say, like, hey, this is something that, like, I want to have a different kind of session tomorrow. Like, this is something I need to talk about. Or can I have a telehealth appointment with you? Can we have, like, an extra call or something like that? Like, anytime that there's been something pressing in my life and I had like emailed my therapist about it, she would like, if it's 10 p.m., she's like, do you want me to call you right now? We'll talk about it right now. And like, that's a part of their job that they're trained for and that they know how to handle, and they anticipate it. It happens. And therapy isn't always just about kind of going through the archives of your life and unpacking and tying all of those things together. Like life happens. Like sometimes people's like parents die while they're in the middle of therapy for something unrelated. Like it's not going to be this like linear sort of thing that needs a lot of backstory. Like sometimes there are things that happen immediately and they need immediate attention, like a bleeding wound. And this is the doctor for that. Like this is who can help you in a way that like will help prepare you, help you do it in a way that like help you talk through the feelings of responsibility about his well-being, but then also be able to, you know, work with you in maintaining your mental well-being through the process of it and any steps in order to protect your physical safety.
Yeah, I agree with everything Megan said. And I just want to add on that none of this was your fault. I know you said that you felt like that you could change him and you let this go on for too long. Sometimes we feel like that we can be positive examples in other people's lives and then they will have these realizations on their own. But this is not your battle to fight. This isn't your like cross to bear, all those stupid idioms, but like this isn't your fault. You were just trying to be a good person, try to be a good friend. And I think you recognize that, you know, this wasn't somebody that you wanted to have a romantic relationship with, but I'm sure there's qualities that they have that he has that you like, and that it wasn't just like a one-sided friendship, but sometimes, you know, people go too far where it's not enough. It's too much for us to handle. And he's gotten to that point. And now like you're asking for advice. Megan gave you great, wonderful like steps to take to talk to someone that's a professional, because now it's gotten to the point where, and you didn't go into details, but he's clearly said and done things in the past that made you afraid for his well-being and yours as well. And so it's at that point where you have to bring in a professional to help you handle this situation. So do that. Please do that immediately. And again, know that this is not your fault.
Yeah. And that's like, it's a very common feeling as women that like we see men being misogynistic or being bad, whatever, being assholes, like not treating us well. It's been an expectation that either as women, we take it and we deal with it, and that's our place, and that they're treating us how we deserve, or we gently course correct and we handhold someone to try and respect us and treat us better. And that's not a personal failure, nor is that a personal, like that's a gender thing. That's the patriarchy. Like that's not a you thing. That's not a conscious choice that we make. Like that's something that just fucking happens. And it's happened to me. It's happened to like every woman I know has at some point or another subconsciously had someone in their life that doesn't treat them well and is a misogynist, is an asshole, whatever it is. And, you know, I hope there's a time when generations of women are like, our rights are like so well established and there's the generational trauma has been healed from like generations of therapy over and over and over again. But the idea that like you did anything, like you let this go on too long, you did blah, like you did XYZ and whatever it is, like you didn't do anything. Like you lived your life and this shitty guy was a part of your life. And like Melissa said, like, you know, there was like a friendship there that like you enjoyed and maybe it was pretty low stakes for you at the time because like, you know, it was just like texting or whatever it is. But like, I think we can all look back on our younger selves and say like, oh, how did I not see those red flags? Like, how did I not see this, and that? And like, I've gotten guilted into that feeling too of being like, why didn't I do that? And then I'm like, but why would I? Why would I have seen those red flags? Like, why? I didn't know they were red flags. And like, the reason I know they're red flags now is because I've dealt with shit that showed me those were red flags. But like, I don't want to be born jaded and thinking that like every man is out there to harm me and hurt me and doesn't value me and doesn't care about me. So like, I've tried to give my like younger self a lot more grace for what I previously was constituting as like falling for people who were obviously bad for me. And it's like, well, you know what? Like, I'm really glad at that age or that time in my life, like, I didn't assume that like people hated me because I was a woman. I didn't assume X, Y, and Z and all of that kind of stuff. And like, now that I know that, it's not like a pleasant experience. So, like, it's not like that lived experience of that, but that wasn't like a choice that any of us make. Like, you were just living your life and you didn't do anything that opened this, that like invited this in, nor do you bear any responsibility for him and his feelings. Like, at any point, you never did, but you certainly especially don't now. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's also been helpful is like, for me, in just anything situations, it's at sometimes there's nothing you could have done differently. Like, sometimes life just happens and people do things that are bad, good, whatever it is, that we have no control over. We have none of that. So like, if you even like, you retrace like your mind and you're like, okay, well, I done this differently. I done this differently. Like, you don't know that this wouldn't have ended up in the same position and same place. Like, you can't control that. Even if you could go back in time, we've seen all those movies where people like go back and they change one thing and like, there's all those effects. But when I stopped thinking that if I had done a couple things different, everything would be different. Like, I don't know that.
But also, like, we're not perfect beings either. So there's no way that we can perfectly handle any type of situation. That's putting too much on yourself to begin with, because you may do some things that may be a red flag to somebody, but like, you can't, knowing that that happens and you do that, but then at the end, you still like, you may be a person that, you know, is called out on their red flags, and then you can change. There's some people that aren't like that.
Yeah. And like, if you go back in time and you change things, we can't control how other people react and what other people do. So like, I can think that I know now what I would have done differently, but I don't know that if I had done that, things would have ended up differently or ended up better or whatever it is, because the only thing you can control is yourself in the now.
All right. Next call.
Hi, Melissa and Megan. I need some advice about a complicated Christmas gift. My boyfriend and I, 33 and 28, have been together for 4 years, and we typically celebrate holidays by spending quality time together rather than giving gifts, as quality time means a lot more to both of us. This year, a few of my friends invited me to go have a spa day, and I said no because I didn't want to spend the money. My boyfriend overheard me and offered to pay for the spa day as my Christmas gift. I accepted his offer. We agreed on the day of the spa day that I would pay with my credit card, and he would Venmo me when I got home. When I got back, I let him know how much it was and left the receipt on the counter. Now a month after the spa day, and my boyfriend hasn't paid me back. I'm pretty sure he just forgot, but I feel like it would be weird for me to remind him that he offered to pay. For a little more context about our finances, my boyfriend makes a lot more money than I do. At this point, we don't have any shared bank accounts, and we split our household expenses mostly half and half. I tend not to spend money on treats for myself, whereas he tends to treat himself to things he wants without hesitation, within reason, of course. We usually talk openly about finances, and it's normal for me to remind him if he owes me for groceries or for him to send me a Venmo request for our shared car insurance payment and things like that. In this situation, I don't know how to talk to him about it without sounding ungrateful or demanding, so I don't know what to do. His offer was with the best intentions, but now that he's forgotten, I ended up spending money that I didn't budget for, which I know my boyfriend wouldn't want. Do you think I should say something, or should I just eat the money and move on? Is sending a Venmo request at this point a gentle reminder or petty as fuck? If I do talk to him about it, how can I do so without sounding ungrateful or demanding? Thanks for your help. Bye.
Why would you sound ungrateful or demanding?
I know. I feel like y'all have been together 4 years. You know that he is forgetful about things. Just reminding him, sending a Venmo
Did I ever
request
pay you for that hot dog?
No, you didn't. But
see, this is exactly what I mean now. Wait, hold on. I'm opening my Venmo. I have
reminded you several times, but it's fine. But like, you sending me, I don't know, $10. I don't know how much a fucking hot dog costs.
Okay, I'm going to bring you cash because I only have 15 cents in my Venmo. I'm writing it in my to-do list.
The $10 isn't hurting me in the way that it's hurting the caller, in a way that's like messing up with their bills and their budgeting. And he doesn't want that. So I think sending a Venmo request should have been what you did from the beginning.
I assumed you were going to say that you sent a Venmo request and maybe he like didn't pay it. Like,
no, just
yeah.
Go ahead and tell him like, hey, here's the deal. You forgot to pay me back. Venmo. I'm sending you a Venmo request. Like, I don't think this is a big deal unless there's a reason why this would be a big deal that you're not telling us.
Yeah. So as someone, as you can just tell right now, I forget to do things literally all the time. And when people remind me like to pay them back or something, like I never, ever like think that they're like being like whatever. Like it to me, it's like oh shit, I forgot. Let me do that real quick. And then I feel bad. But like, I also, it's just kind of par for the course. And if he's a forgetful person, like he's used to that. Like I'm really used to forgetting to pay Mott's back for things or whatever it is. And I'm used to that with my friends as well. And I don't feel like it's a personal attack. And I don't feel like it's a judge on my character when people like remember, like it's helpful. If you're a forgetful person and someone reminds you about something, like it's only going to be helpful. So if your mind is going to like, you know, being greedy and ungrateful and blah, 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 is that from your past, your other relationships you've had, like how you grew up, or is that from this relationship? Because I think it's from this relationship. I think that's a red flag. But other than that, like, I think the gentlest reminder you can give would be the Venmo request. And then I would honestly like send the Venmo request and just like, you know, message him and tell, like, you can text him afterwards and be like, hey, sent you the Venmo request for like the spa day. And if he's like, I don't want to pay for it anymore, then I think that's a different conversation. But I think the best thing
I can't pay for it anymore.
Yeah. I think the best thing to do in that, and I've had to like, you know, ask friends to pay me back for things. But I think the best thing to do in those instances when you're trying to get paid back is putting it in writing. And like, that's the good thing with Venmo, but then also sending a message there because, you know, if someone texts me something and I like open a text message to text them about something else, I'm like, oh shit, I have to go do that thing. Or if they're not wanting to do it, then there's like actual written down record of that. And I think that that is helpful if you're on the other end of it and you're like, okay, well, now I know I was being direct and clear. So now we have to have a conversation about this.
That's what Judge Judy says.
What'd she say?
Just make sure you got everything in writing.
Oh yeah, well that's always going to be the best the best advice for anything everywhere. But I wouldn't worry about this, and like I know that's like so fucking unhelpful. But from someone who's like I've been on both sides of that, and as when I'm the person who needs to pay the money, whether it was like a gift, whether it was like whatever, like I've never thought it looked bad on the person asking me to pay them what I owed them.
Yeah, I mean, we had a writer on, but am I wrong, right in that I think it was their aunt had agreed to pay for their plane ticket to go to a funeral. And they wrote back and they're like, my aunt, like, and they asked, like, would it be wrong for me to ask them for the money? Very similar to this. And they asked the aunt eventually after they had wrote in, they asked the aunt for the money and the aunt just completely forgot and gave the money right away. So
yeah, as a forgetful person, like the best thing I can do, like the best advice I can give to people who aren't forgetful, it's like reminding your forgetful friends is not bitchy. It's not rude. It's helpful. And like, if you're concerned about being an asshole, I'm already sure that your tone is not going to be condescending. Like if you have the wherewithal to be like, I really don't want to come across as rude, you're not going to. Like you're already aware of that. And it's not intentional the same way that it's not a personal slight when someone who's forgetful forgets something. They're not going to view it as a personal slight when you acknowledge, hey, I know this wasn't personal. So like, I'm just going to remind you. Well, I'm excited for you to get your money back.
Me too. And I hope you enjoyed your spa day. All right. Well, we're going to take another break.
back from the break.
It's time for Don't Blame Them.
Yes, it is time for Don't Blame Them, which is when a listener calls in with their own advice pertaining to a call that was aired on a previous episode. So maybe they have some additional ideas or advice they want to give that we didn't touch on. They have personal experience with it, or they just had an epiphany. A ghost came to them in the night, and
my dream.
They know. I was going to say the ghost came into the night and then came in the night. And they are going to bestow us some ghost jizz wisdom. Ghost jizdom.
Here, I hope this isn't a serious one.
Oh God, I'm
if
so
it is,
sorry.
Then we're gonna redo it.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm calling in for a Don't Blame Them episode for this past week in regards to the caller that was having issues about living alone and just kind of that transition in life. So recently I moved in by myself this past June, and I was definitely going through the same situation. This is also the home that me and my ex were supposed to live in, so there was a little bit drama behind that aspect. Essentially, I would totally agree with Meghan and Melisa on this. I think you need to host more events. I did a Friendsgiving as well as I'm hosting a cookie decorating party in December. Another suggestion is getting an emotional support animal or plant. I recently got into planting, and that's not only decorating for my home, but it's a new hobby. I also got a fish, and although it's small, it's a little perk I have coming home and taking care of something when I necessarily wasn't able to take care of myself. Lastly, if you have access to therapy, I highly recommend bringing this up with your therapist. Loneliness can lead to self-isolation, and we definitely don't want you to go through that route. Essentially, living alone is tough, but it is a great opportunity to find new things and discover yourself a little bit more. Just know that I don't know you, but I support you in this new journey, and I absolutely love this podcast, and I was glad to call in. Thanks.
What a nice person.
Yeah, no, like you sound like a genuinely, like I think I know nothing about, you're going to the good place. Like that just, you're so nice and so kind to both the caller and us, and we appreciate it. And I think that's great advice. As someone who's you're into plants, please tell me how to keep my plants alive in the wintertime. How are you doing with it? Because I'm struggling. Any plant owners out there, please, I am, this is not unsolicited. I am asking for your help in my DMs. Please don't tell me to buy a heater. It's happening. I'm not choosing to live in the cold forever. It's just a process, but I love a plant, love taking care of things.
Yeah. I think I like my plants. I'm like, some of them are dying or whatever, but I'm also like, I've had these plants since 2020. So I think I'm doing pretty good.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. I keep forgetting that time has passed.
Yeah.
And so like the accomplishments that like things that I've sustained since 2020, like that's not a small little blip. Like that's like 3 fucking years. Wow, you're right. I'm going to be a little more gentle with myself in the fact that my plants are.
Give yourself grace. Listen to your own advice.
Well, that is it for our episode. We hope you enjoyed. I hope you had such a great time. I hope you're like, wow, this brought so much joy to my Monday or whatever day that you are listening. And if you're listening on a Monday and maybe this is your first episode, you're like, I'm so sad. I have to wait a whole other week for a new episode. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because we think more is more. We give you so much. So we have a other episode coming out on Tuesday for See You Next Tuesday, where we catch up, we chat, we just socialize, talk about our lives. Then we give you a break on Wednesday so you can catch up on sleep, watch your shows.
Catch up on old episodes.
There you go. And then Thursday we have But Am I Wrong, where we give you a wonderful content. It's great. I'm not going to dive into it. There's an entire podcast you can listen to all about it. And then Fisting Friday on Friday for your buttholes, whatever hole you want to get fisted in. We're here for it. We're here for you and your hole.
All right. And if you love us, go leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. Also, if you listen on Spotify, go and rate us on the Spotify app. I'm going to read a review from Apple Podcasts. Amazing podcast from Joe Collette, 5 stars. These two ladies have become a staple in my Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday routine. I started listening when I first started college, and I'll be graduating in May, and I can definitely say that listening over the past 4 years has made me a better person. They are not afraid to cover pretty much any topic and call people out when necessary. I love listening to podcasts by two people who are in fact never wrong and truly look forward to new episodes. Thanks, Joe.
Joe, so kind. We appreciate it. And I love just knowing for so many people, like we've been the soundtrack for college and
high school,
I think like
college, some people.
But I think it's so cool, especially because like we have varying age ranges like of calls, like of content in the calls. So like you listen when you're in college and like, you know, each episode, like maybe there's one or two calls that like really apply to your life. And then you get to like listen to the others for drama. But as you get older, different calls start applying to like your life more. And then other ones you go, oh yeah, I remember when I was in that position. Like, I just think I don't know. I think it's cool. Even like us giving advice when like talking about like, you know, people buying houses and getting engaged and like coming from a position where I wasn't there yet. Like, and now that I'm there, like, it's cool that this has been like a constant for that. So I love to picture us in your AirPods or whatever headphones you use or walk into class across the quad. I don't know why I'm romanticizing college. I had a horrible time.
I was like, I loved college, but this sounds like you really enjoyed it.
No, I didn't. I'm just thinking about the TV show Greek, which was really the source of and who I blame for me even attending college. I'm like, it's their fault. But yeah, follow us on Instagram and then I'll get the TikTok up eventually and they'll look really good. But, you know, there's still ones there. So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Which is Tuesday. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. Also, Patreon, if you want.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts and Diamond Imprint Productions. Edited by Coco Lawrence. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson. Music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Merry Christmas, everybody. My name is Eric Peterson. I'm here with my good buddy,
Danny Jordan.
And we are the co-hosts of the Let me try that again. Merry Christmas, everybody. My name is Eric Peterson. I'm here with my good buddy,
Danny Jordan.
And we are the hosts of Christmas Countdown Show.
We're so thrilled to be bringing the merriment to you all this holiday season.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be massively merry, gigantically jolly, fantastically festive, as some people might say, Eric. We are all about alliterations, and we are all about Christmas spirit. On Christmas Countdown, we love to count down our top 10 favorite things related to the holiday season. That could be food, movies, music, everything that we all love about this massively merry good time. So wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you click that subscribe button. Eric, are you ready?
I am ready, and we hope that you are too. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's go. It should be like, let's go, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.